marketing and reaching out to your customers is often the hardest part of running a startup business. And today, such a huge piece of marketing has become social media. It's become such a giant lever in all of marketing. It's super important in building your brand and getting traffic. I'm not going to run through all of that. We're lucky we have Vincent Orleck here with us today. Vincent is a marketing strategist, a podcaster, and a member of the vibrant startup community in Greater Phoenix. He's a social media manager for Arizona State University's Knowledge Enterprise and president of the Social Media Club of Phoenix. And I have heard that despite the fact that he lives out in the Valley of the Sun, that Vincent, you're actually a Rhode Islander, right?
I am. I'm born and bred. I moved away back in 2000, but I've been back to visit, of course. But I'm native, born in Providence. Went to Wheeler, graduated Rick. Now I'm getting my master's at ASU.
Well, I'll make you feel bad because I'm going to go over and grab dinner on Federal Hill when I'm done here.
Oh, man. That's the thing here. There's a lack of good Italian restaurants. I can tell you that much.
With that, Vincent's here. He's going to help us unlock all the secrets that every entrepreneur should know about building a social media strategy. And with that, Vincent, please take it away.
Yes, and I'm going to share my screen. Get this going here. And hopefully everybody can everybody see? Good.
Yes.
Great. So thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting for me because although I've been out here since for a few years in the Greater Phoenix area, Rhode Island is always home, as we all know. Anyone that moves away, Rhode Island is always the special place in your heart. And the fact that I've been at ASU for a couple of years, and the fact that we are working directly with the state of Rhode Island and innovation happening in Rhode Island is when I heard that, I was like ecstatic. So the marriage of the two is a great thing. So I do hope everybody's staying safe. Thank you again for having me. And I want to talk a little bit today about social media for startups. One thing I would preface this with is that startups, I heard a great thing at our startup week this past February, before everything happened with the pandemic. We got a weekend of startup week, and it was our 6th startup week. One of the speakers was a representative of Rise of the Rest, Steve Case's project that goes from town to town, that highlights the, not necessarily rural, but the cities that are not the New Yorks of the world, in LA and Boston even. And she mentioned how startups are, we kind of think of them a certain way, but really startups are so much more. She made this point that I'll never forget about, and I have two daughters, one a 7-year-old, and how kids are essentially startups, for better or worse. And I love that idea of kids being startups. So with that said, startups are kind of a lot of different things. It's not just tech scalable startups. It's small business, and that's how we approach it here in the Greater Phoenix area. And the ecosystem out here is the entrepreneurial ecosystem, the entrepreneurial community, ventures and startups all around. So what I want to talk about today, these are the main points. The state of social media, that'll be a quick one because I think everybody's pretty familiar. Why it matters, some examples, some tools, and takeaways. We touched on this already. That's me. That's my family. My 7-year-old, my wife, my older kiddo. She's 20. Born and raised in Providence. Been out here since 2005. Social media for about the last decade. I had a sales territory that, long story short, ended up using Yelp as a sales tool for mom and pop businesses. And it worked somewhat, but it really just opened up the world to me. I ended up working for Facebook here in the Valley and for about a year, and on the small business team. And that opened up this world of this could be a full-time thing of social media marketing as a career back in 2010, 2011. Social media manager at ASU for the knowledge enterprise, which is essentially everything research. So it's not the main part of the university, it's the research part of the university, which is huge. We're almost at 700 million in research expenditures last year. We'll see what it's at this year. I'm very active in the startup community here. As mentioned, Yes PHX is our community, our ecosystem. I did a mini SWOT. So I defined a strength for me. It would be serving our community, the founders and entrepreneurs. The weakness is definitely saying no, as probably a lot of people can relate to. The opportunity I think that presents the most is misconceptions about social media, how to use it, and what's available. And then for me, a threat is always time. I never have enough time, and part of that goes back to saying no. So the state of social media, if you have not seen this graphic before, prepare yourself because you may get nervous and scared. I'm not trying to scare you. So this is a thing called the Conversation Prism. It's put out by, and you can see the names there, Brian Solis and this agency, Jesse. For a number of years, this is the most recent one. I think it's from 2018. And so it's not even totally up to date. These are essentially all the platforms online that drive conversation and can fall under a social media world. You can see all the different categories. Obviously, the Facebooks and LinkedIns and Twitters of the world are in there, but you're going to have other things that fall under this big banner of online conversation being social. So a lot of noise. A lot of noise to cut through, a lot of options for people. We all know this. This is not news. Why does it matter? Why should a startup care about social media at various points? There's certain points where a startup definitely is going to care about social media and marketing as a whole. And as was mentioned, social media is a piece. For better or worse, I've blocked it down to the three main areas for a startup. So ideation, validation, and growth. Using social media, thinking of using social media as not so much for promoting a business, promoting services, doing offers, even in the level of building relationships, as we often hear, that is not all it's about or all it has to be about. There are ways to use these platforms as tools where you are not just out there pushing something or getting the brand out there necessarily. You can use it for crowdsourcing. You can use it for researching competitors or researching your idea in the ideation stage, helping to define the brand, figuring out what the brand is going to be, what's the voice going to be, what's the tone going to be of your messaging. In validation, customer acquisition, getting feedback, a lot of important elements. With growth, that's where you see more of the traditional uses of social media marketing coming in, with generating leads through paid ads, marketing, content marketing, any sort of those uses. That's where you're seeing most companies, most startups, businesses, they're going to use social media for these types of purposes: Twitter, LinkedIn, developing the relationships, the connections with the audience. That is, all of those things are ideally going to drive and lead to more revenue. I want to touch on a couple of examples. One of these, stratsgear, is actually one of our, we have a program at ASU called Venture Devils, which is under the Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute. It's ASU Venture Devils. Twice a year, spring and winter, we have a demo day where the Venture Devils that are in that program can compete and can qualify and compete for anywhere from 200 to 300,000 in funding and awards. stratsgear has competed in that multiple times and won multiple times. These are students. These are students that they are very good at what they do. They actually developed, the founder developed the brand essentially himself. I met with him at one point, probably a year ago now, and he showed me a lookbook. And for a student to even know, what something like a lookbook is, a brand style guide, these elements, these are not typical things that a student would know, or maybe they know about them, they don't know how to develop them. He had built this, so he had that advantage of having that knowledge. However you came across it was innate and also learned. He developed it, and he developed this brand. He knew the audience. He used these tools on, not all on social, but partly to develop the audience. They have a pretty good sized Instagram audience there, as you can see. That doesn't come easily to get over 10,000 followers. Even that, it may not seem like a Kardashian level of followers, but that's okay. You don't need that. It's more about the quality versus the quantity, as we all know. So knowing who your audience is, knowing that Instagram is the channel, that is their main channel that they use. They use Instagram stories. You can see how well branded it is on the right side there. That's a screenshot of their Instagram account. Those little circles are what's called highlights. If you're not familiar with it, when you do an Instagram story, which is the top circle, you can document, and really people try to keep it more personal. You can save those. They don't disappear if you don't want them to. So generally they disappear after about a day, 24 hours. But you can keep them alive through these highlights that live on your profile. And what a lot of companies do, a lot of more advanced companies actually don't do this. But stratsgear went ahead and created these branded icons. So now if someone goes to their account, they can easily see, here's our team. You want to meet our team? Here's our team. The tribe. Here's our customers that are sharing about their experiences. The third-party validation. Travel. Here's where we're going, what we're doing. Lifestyle. Here's everything that people. Here's how people are using the products. Also, so it's a very smart approach. The other thing that they do that is very smart is I screenshotted the bottom of the website there. It's in the middle of the screen. So obviously they're linking their icons, right? They're linking their social media channels. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. They're on Pinterest. They're on LinkedIn. They're on the places where they know their audience to be, and they're on these channels for different reasons. They're reaching different audiences with different messaging as well. But they also have a number of forms of payment. And while that's not directly social media related, it sort of is, because if I'm on a social media channel or if I'm on anywhere, they're eliminating barriers to purchasing their product. They're offering it on almost every place there, in terms of e-commerce, right? You can pay in a number of different ways. So a lot of companies, a lot of bigger companies, definitely a lot of startups and smaller businesses don't do this. Maybe they aren't able to at that time, but it's just something to consider, that everybody at this point uses a lot of different forms of payment. And if you can remove that friction, then it's only going to help you, help your growth. The other company is more of more of a national company. It's a company called Bippy, and their social media handles are Hey Bippy. That's why I put at Hey Bippy. And this is a screenshot from their website. Their pitch, their value prop, everything is very well defined. And like I said here, they do make it hard to say no. They make it very hard to say no to what they're doing. Basically, they're saying if you care about the planet, everybody uses toilet paper, you should buy our product. Now, did they benefit? Were they a company that benefited from the last, several months for better or worse? Obviously, um, yes. I became a customer. I found them. I saw I saw Arlen Hamilton originally from Backstage Capital tweet about them. I think they're one of Backstage Capital's investments, and that's how I found them. There's no problem getting toilet paper from them, by the way. There's no problem. I bought a case. I bought multiple cases each time. It's relatively affordable. I think it's $30 something for a case, which if you're okay with saving trees and also when supply is very low and you can't get it nearby, that was a very viable option. And then they had me and I'm in. But when you go to their website, when you go to their social media, it's all very friendly. They have a very defined brand, a fun brand. Down there in the bottom left, that is from their website chat. They call it a butt dial. Their blog is called Buttwell. You can see it. And when you go, even the packaging, if you go on the website, they're very in tune with this whole fun idea of making toilet paper fun. Whoever thought you could make toilet paper fun and colorful and everything. So that's another really great example. Some tools. I think these are viable tools for utilizing at various stages of being in the startup. So it's not all specifically social media. There's, Twitter. Absolutely. You can use different searches on Twitter to find conversations, people talking about maybe not your product, but at least yet, depends on what stage you're in. But to talk about the industry, talk about problems they're having. You can look up certain phrases. You can search based on location. You can search people nearby if the location is an issue for you, or not an issue, but if that's something that you're marketing towards. Stories are now everywhere. The stories function is now pretty much on every social media site, including Pinterest has a story function in beta right now. They're kind of the last one now that Twitter has stories and LinkedIn has stories as of the last couple months. Facebook groups are fantastic for research. And for beta groups, if you need a testing group, you can build a group on Facebook, even LinkedIn. I mean, if you want to use a LinkedIn group, that works too. But these closed groups of beta users, beta testers, it's a viable option. Something like Answer the Public, where you can go and do all kinds of research about what people are talking about online. Again, you enter in a word. Say you enter in the word startups, for instance, it'll tell you how all the questions that people are entering into Google about that topic. Excuse me. Scheduling tools, things like Hootsuite and Agorapulse. Hootsuite you probably heard of. That's a scheduling tool. It's pretty popular. Agorapulse is a more of an up and coming one that a lot of social media managers use. Product Hunt, I don't know that everybody knows enough about Product Hunt. I think that's a great place to launch your product, launch your startup, and get feedback and some validation and notoriety. Because that is, if you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend going to check it out. It's just producthunt.com. It's been around for a few years. It's funded by Y Combinator. So it's definitely viable. That VC club there that you see that's a Slack channel. There's a lot of Slack channels, of course, but there's dedicated ones to topics and different topics of all kinds. This just happens to be one where it's VC funding, anything affiliated with venture capital and just startups as a whole. There's a lot of conversation that goes on there. LinkedIn, of course, for connecting to the right people, as always. Brand champions I put as a tool, essentially influencers. So who are the people that you're going to use to help grow it once you're ready to launch it and take it out of the social media stealth mode? Who's going to help launch the products? And of course, RIHub.org, RIHub.org has fantastic resources. A lot of great tools. Closing it out, some takeaways. There are ways to navigate the noise on social and reach your desired target audience. It's just finding the ones that will work for you and have worked in the past for others. You can get help from social media for your business, your startup in multiple ways. The big one is defining the brand beforehand. Do not launch social media channels out to the public before your brand is defined. Even if you already have, a logo and some posts and some pictures, there's more to your brand than that. There's more to your brand than just your logo. So stay in that social media stealth mode until your brand, your voice is defined. But while saying that, once you have essentially the name, you do want to secure as many handles on the social media platforms that you can, even the ones that you may not use right now or ever. Something like Snapchat, maybe a startup wouldn't use Snapchat or think they're going to use it, but going to secure that handle on that channel is important so that someone else doesn't. And using social media and various tools to save you time. It all can be done, and in a big way. It's just having that mindset of not using these tools just for, hey, we have a sale to promote or a product.